I now want to talk about setting goals. Before we get into our goals workshop, let me give you a few ideas about goal setting. It became terribly helpful for me in those early days. Of all the things Mr. Shop taught, this is the one I picked up on right away and started making major changes. My income changed from a few hundred a month to a few thousand a month in a matter of months. Some personal development things took me a little longer to get underway, but goal setting, I picked it up immediately and went to work on it. There's no telling what we can do with it. By setting goals, making designs and plans, and putting it all together, you can make incredible changes in your personal, social, and economic life, or whatever projects you have in mind, if you start paying a little more attention. Mr. Shop said to me, "Mr. Owen, you've always set goals, but before now, you've probably done it haphazardly and spasmodically rather than deliberately." And that's a good thing to note. We've already set goals. We just haven't done it thoughtfully, carefully, with a plan, intent, deliberation, and consistency. We didn't use it as a plan. We just sort of did it by instinct or by sight, grabbed our attention, and worked hard to get it. But now he said, "I want you to take that same ability and work on goals deliberately, thoughtfully, and with preparation." He said you can add such a wider variety of ranges to what you get, accomplish, become, and where you go just by doing it deliberately rather than spasmodically and haphazardly. That made sense to me. He gave me credit for what I'd already done and what I already knew. And that's what we want to start with. A little credit for where we already are. We got here somehow. This was a goal to get here. We've set some goals, we've done some things, but where you might have done it just sort of loosely and once in a while, with ups and downs. From now on, with just a few pointers that I found helpful, I think you can start making real deliberate plans, really setting it out so that goals and dreams for you have an incredible attraction. We're primarily affected by 5 things, and here they are. First, we're affected by the environment. All of us are affected by our environment, where we live, the community, the traffic, the weather, the smog, and the people around us. Second, we're affected by events, things that happen, whether they're personal, community-related, national, or international events. Does anybody remember the missile crisis? There's some here old enough to remember the missile crisis back in, 61? Incredible time. We discovered Khrushchev's got his missiles heading for Cuba. They've already prepared the missile sites. We discovered it and brought the news to John Kennedy, our young president. So Kennedy gets a hold of Khrushchev and says, "Nikita, you cannot put your missiles in Cuba. We've discovered the sites and we can't let that happen." Well, Khrushchev, to test the young president, says, "I'll tell you what, Mr. Kennedy, we will put our missiles wherever we darn well please." Kennedy says, "No, you don't understand. You can't put your missiles 90 miles from Florida." Khrushchev says, "If we wish, we will." Kennedy says, "You don't understand." Khrushchev says, "The ships with the missiles are already on the way." Kennedy says, "We won't let them arrive." Now it's getting heavy. Some of my friends were booking passage to Australia, trying to get to the other side of the world. Khrushchev says, "If you touch my ships, we've got war." Kennedy says, "Maybe you don't understand. If it's war, you will cease to exist." People were buying bomb shelters, digging holes in their backyards, getting ready. It was an event that affected us all. Dean Rusk, Secretary of State at the time, put it best. Kennedy and Khrushchev were staring at each other, and fortunately, Khrushchev blinked. He decided he'd better take his missiles and go home, which he did, and the whole world breathed a little easier. Events affect us all. Third, we're affected by knowledge. Whatever you've learned up until now affects you. The books you've read, the experience you've come into possession of, and the awareness you've accumulated in your life. Next, we're affected by results. Whatever results, accomplishments, or failures of the past, all those affect the current economic results you have. Fifth, we're affected by our view of the future. Of all these 5 things, in my opinion, here's the best way to live the good life. Make sure the greatest pull on your life is the pull of the future. Make sure that exerts the greatest influence on you, the influence of the future. Some people are mostly affected by the environment, their associations, and what's going on around them. Some people are affected by the past, the failures, what they haven't done, what they haven't got, or some tragedy. They let that take the greatest toll and make the greatest claim on their lives. But if you really want to live what's known as the good life, a unique lifestyle, make sure the future has the greatest influence on you. There are two ways to face the future. One is with apprehension, being afraid of the future, being uncertain, playing the what-if game. What if the money goes wrong? What if the government doesn't do well? What if there's war? This what-if game can be played on the negative side. If you don't discipline your mind and awareness, it is not difficult to be apprehensive about tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and the future. Here's another way to face the future, with anticipation. If you can arrange it so that you anticipate the future rather than dread it, that can alter your whole life. Because guess how close the future is? The next minute, that's the future. The past is quickly receding and the future is quickly coming. So we're all concerned right away with the future, the next few hours, days, years. The best way to anticipate the future is to make sure that a big share of it for your life is well designed. Some of the future we anticipate simply by speculation. It looks like humans are figuring out better ways to do things. We anticipate the coming explosion in electronics and all the things being invented for our safety, comfort, and productivity. We can anticipate conquering some diseases, finding a cure for cancer. There are all kinds of positive things to think about for the future. But for your own personal life, the way to anticipate the future is to design it. Let me give you a little diagram to explain part of this in our lives. Here's what we're primarily involved with. Draw 4 little boxes. This little box is called potential. This box is called action. This box is called results. And this box is called attitude. Since everything affects everything else, we primarily proceed based on how we feel. Part of it is intellect, but the biggest part is emotion. How you feel determines whether you read or don't read. Reading is not really a skill problem. You can learn some better skills for better reading. But most of you knew how to read before you got here. So whether you read or not is not really a skill problem. It's an attitude problem. The direction you take is attitude. You can decide to be happy or sad. That's attitude. How you react to a certain situation is primarily attitude. You can either care or not care, listen or not listen, go or not go, be there or not be there, decide or not decide. That's all by attitude. Attitude is the determining factor. So attitude determines our potential, how much potential we tap. Guess how much capacity we have? No telling. We are just beginning to understand our mental, emotional, and human capacity. Our lives are far too brief for the capacity for whatever mystery that is. In one of the old world sayings, it says, "We get too soon old and too late smart." It isn't that we couldn't be smarter, but life is so brief, we just don't have a chance to tap into all of our mental, emotional, and awareness capacities. But that's one of the mysteries of life meant to ponder. Depending on how much potential we tap, that really depends on how we feel. If we don't tap much potential, we're going to have a poor action plan. The person says, "I'm not getting there early and leaving late if this is all they're paying." Some people want to know, how little can I do and how much can I get? I found it a bit disturbing when I got to Australia. The people were incredibly vigorous, but they were also trying to figure out ways to work less and earn more. Have you heard of that philosophy? The question was, how little can we do and how much can we get? Remember, everything has 4 parts: cause, effect, direction, and destination. The philosophy that says we want to work less and earn more puts us on a certain direction, and I'm sure everybody will agree to that. The ultimate end of that philosophy is, can we finally not do anything and get it all? That's the final destination of that philosophy. The people who go for that philosophy usually say, no, we don't want to take you that far down the road because that would be bankruptcy for all of us, which is true. They say, we don't want to take you that far down the road. The next question is, how far down that road do you want to take us? There's always a danger point of going down one road too far. Sometimes when momentum is created, demise is soon. You cross the line of no return once you go too far. You've always got to be careful of your philosophical approach to make sure the direction you're going and the ultimate destination are aligned. One of the major questions for all of us to ask is, if you keep pursuing your present plan that you've been engaged in for the past year, where will it ultimately take you in the next 10, 20 years? 10 years from now, you will surely arrive. The question is, where? Where are you headed with your current reading schedule? Where are you headed with your current philosophical position? Where are you headed with your current attitude toward the potential you tap from your own abilities and the action plan you have? Where will you finally wind up? Those are major questions. We all want to make sure that what we're doing is taking us in the direction we want to go and will cause us to arrive where we want to arrive. Otherwise, sure enough, 5, 10 years from now, you could wind up being where you don't want to be, wearing what you don't want to wear, driving what you don't want to drive, and living where you don't want to live. Now's the time to fix the next 10 years. Now's the time to come to some better philosophical conclusions. But we're all affected by how we feel, the potential we tap, and the action we take. The action we take brings a certain amount of results. If we've got a poor plan, tapping little potential, what kind of results do we get? Awful. Now, if you've got bad results, how do you feel? Since everything affects everything else, the answer is clear. Lousy. That's a good word, lousy. If you feel bad, what kind of potential do you have? How many classes do you take? How many skills do you learn? You just don't go for it. Now you've got a poorer plan. You get there later, leave earlier, figure out a way to do less instead of more, and that brings poorer results. Inflation finally starts eating you up. Now you really feel bad. You're not going to tap into many of your skills. You're going to come up with a poorer plan, leading to poorer results. This cycle is now going down. Almost everything is either cycling up or cycling down. Nothing ever just hangs in there, right? Life is sort of like riding a bicycle. You either get on or get off. You can't just hang in there. We're either climbing or sliding, growing or dying. How we feel in the cycle of events happening in our lives is usually either taking us up or taking us down. If we're going down, we need to step in somewhere and change this. To change the cycle of what is happening in your life, where do you step in to change this whole process? Attitude. We proceed from how we feel. What determines how you feel? What happens to you determines how you feel. Humans have the incredible ability to finish the future before they start it. We also talk about that in time management. When should you start the day? The answer is don't start the day until you have it finished. Is it possible to finish something before you start it? Of course. Humans have this unique ability, like building a house. You don't start building your house until you have it finished. You finish it by plan and by design. Goals can become like a magnet. What you want now is the pull of the future. Some things will pull just because intellectually you're aware of the potential and the possibility of the future. Discoveries, what can happen, the economy, living in this unique country, and the market possibilities can pull you. You can get excited about that simply intellectually. However, for the real pull on your constructive life to progress, you need to design the future for your personal life in order for it to pull. If you design it well, it will pull. The goals will become like a magnet. They will start to pull. The better you define them, the stronger they pull. Next, give reasons for your goals. The reasons for your goals are your purpose. Purpose is stronger than the object. An object will pull. A well-defined object will really pull, but a purpose given to a well-defined object pulls like you can't believe. This process entices you to get up early, stay up late, and hit it all day. You're enticed to read the books, find the answers, and develop the game plan. No detail is too small. You're excited about facing the day because you've got it well designed and given excellent purpose for it. If you have a goal of a $500,000 home, that will pull. But the next question is, what for? What's your purpose for the $500,000 home? For the feelings of your family, the prestige, the ability to entertain? Now we're getting to the stuff that pulls. Purpose really pulls. The purpose can also be for your life and your lifestyle. The purpose of becoming a unique person. What kind of influence do you want to have? What kind of effect do you want to have on other people? What kind of return do you want in the way of thanks and recognition for the person you've become and your life of sharing? Once you start dreaming about what you can become, the effect you can have, the joy it's going to give you, and the return that's going to come, you start designing this incredible purpose for your life. Make sure that you include family and friends, because many times what we do for others pulls greater than even what we want for ourselves. If you can see yourself being uniquely benevolent, providing things for people they never dreamed they could have, and helping them accomplish things they never thought possible, how is that going to make you feel? Think about the kind of person you're going to become from it, and the joy you're going to get from it. You need to ponder that, think about it, talk about it, and design it. Most of the answers for your life, you're not going to find this weekend. You'll find them out of your own experience. But if we can just get you started, if you can just get started reading, asking questions, and thinking on paper, that's where the answers are going to flow. Some lectures promise too much for the weekend. One of my wealthy friends says, "Mr. Rohn, I will not insult you by telling you what to think, but I want to help you by showing you how to think." The answers are going to come from your own experience, your own brain power. If we have some guidelines that will help us to find the answers for the future, that can become a very valuable weekend. Perhaps we've gotten some answers here, but most of them for your life and the rest of your life are going to come from your own experience, your own awareness, your own thinking power. But your new ability to read better, think better, design your life better, have better goals, better time management, a better appreciation of lifestyle, value, uniqueness, and intelligence. That whole process now gives you incredibly high chances, starting Monday, to better your life in a short period of time. You can't believe some of this and what's going to happen to you in the next week or the next month. I remember those early days when I first got hold of some of this from Mr. Shoff. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't believe that I had discovered the man who was going to teach me how to be wealthy. It was just too much for me at first. It was unbelievable. I went down to 118 pounds. Unbelievable. I almost wasted away. I was so excited I couldn't eat. I lost my appetite. Unbelievable. I was just trembling with excitement to think that I found the answers for wealth, happiness, lifestyle, fortune, world travel, prestige, affecting people, and personality. I couldn't believe I was on the beginning edge of all of that. I got terribly excited. I finally got to where I could better manage my emotions and handle it a little bit better. But I'm telling you, once some of this opens up, especially in the early going, it is incredibly exciting when you start thinking of what you can do, what you can earn, what you can become, the kind of person you can be, the influence you can have, how far you can reach, and how many you can touch. It's incredible. I'm still blown away by it all. Somebody asked me, "You've been doing these seminars now for 17 years? Doesn't it get a little old?" The answer is no. I'm just as excited about doing this one this weekend as I was doing my first one. In fact, I'm more excited about this one because I'm better. The first ones, I was worried. This one, I'm just purely excited because I know some of you out there are going to be where I was at age 25. And some of this stuff is going to explode in your consciousness. And you're going to have some stories. Who knows? You may be writing your books, giving your seminars, and sharing your insights around the world. Who knows what will come out of a weekend like this? And I know that. That's what gets me excited. You never know who you're sharing with. You never know who you've recommended an idea to. You just don't know. Out of a room full of this many people serious about making changes and getting information, no telling what can happen from this. The letters and the stories I already know because I've had it happen to me over the last dozen years especially. But it can be exciting now. The major value of reaching a goal is not in having the goal, but in the person you become to acquire it. The major value of reaching a goal is not in having the goal, but in the person you become to acquire it. It's a worthwhile objective to become a millionaire, and the major reason is not to get the $1 million. The $1 million is second, third, fourth. No telling how far down the list it is. The real value is the person you became to acquire the money or the net worth. After you've become a millionaire, you could throw the money away and not lose very much because you get to retain the person you became, unless you throw yourself away. Once you become the person it takes to acquire the goal is not the most important value. The most important value is what you became to get it. That's why when you really philosophically understand and put things in their proper perspective, if you happen to lose, you don't really mind. When they broke into my motorhome and stole all the stuff, I didn't care about the stuff. You can always buy more televisions, radios, tape recorders, and leather briefcases. You can always replace the stuff. I really did feel a bit concerned about my journals, things almost irreplaceable. Never regret the loss of things unless they're personal family treasures or something that has more than just monetary value. Then you'll be disappointed. I remember once when I lost all my money. What was unique about that experience was when I lost everything, I really calculated that I lost only about 10% of all my assets because I only lost the money. Now, some people, when they lose their money, they lose 90%, right? That's when they feel desperate, sometimes to the point of considering extreme actions. But if you understand that the person you became to acquire your wealth still exists when the money is gone, then you realize you haven't lost everything. You've still got the mental value, the awareness, the uniqueness, and the skills that you used to acquire those possessions. That's the greater value. This is why the love of money can be problematic. If you place your love on money instead of on the true value of the person you've become to acquire it, then when the money is gone, you feel like you've lost everything. When Jesus, the master teacher, told the rich man to sell all he had and give to the poor and become a disciple, he was not asking him to do something totally wrong. Jesus understood where the true value lies. If the rich man had become a wealthy young ruler, he could give all his possessions away and still not lose any of his wealth because he would retain the person he had become. Once you understand where the true values are, you use goals not just to reach the goal, but as an enticement to become a better person. Now you're focusing on the true enterprise of life. You want to reap the harvest not just for the harvest itself, but for the person you become in the process. For the patience, the brains, the discipline, and the organizational ability it takes, employing other people, offering opportunities, these are the real values. To get a good harvest, you must be an enterprising person. So it isn't the harvest that's the most valuable. It's the skills, personality, and discipline you develop to acquire it. These become the primary values. When you understand the acquisition of wealth this way, you no longer worry about your money. You don't worry about who will steal it, where it will go, or who will get their hands on it when you're gone. You just don't worry about that anymore because you've already gained the greatest value from your wealth. If you earned it, the greatest value is the person you became to acquire it. Now, if you apply this philosophical position to all your future projects, you cannot believe the happiness, uniqueness, and joy that comes with it. It becomes easier to get up in the morning because you're striving for the greater value of the person you're going to become to achieve your goals. Growing is one of the incredible chances and challenges in life. It makes the day much more exciting and interesting because we all know that true values are not found in material things. If we pursue things, we will end up disappointed. But if we let things entice us to become better people to acquire them, we understand where the true value lies. You will find that as you work on these principles, incredible things will start happening. People come back with stories about achieving goals much faster than they anticipated. For example, a doctor and his wife who wanted to double their practice in 3 years managed to do it in about 10 months. They even bought a his and hers Rolls-Royce and Bentley. These progress reports show that once people get started, they can't believe the incredible things that start happening. When you work on these principles, you let the good surprises of life stack in your favor. Good things happen to people who are enterprising, growing, and changing. Some call it luck, but luck is merely taking advantage of opportunities in the marketplace. If you're not out there, it's just not going to happen. Luck doesn't seek you out, it falls upon those who are out there operating in the marketplace. For example, if a salesperson makes a lucky sale, it's usually the result of consistent effort. You have to be out there, working and laboring, where the good things fall. Now, leadership should understand the 20/80th rule. I don't know exactly where it came from, but if you're going to be involved with people for any amount of time or any number of people from various walks of life, you've got to grasp what we call the 20/80th rule. If you haven't heard it before, let me explain it to you. The 20/80th rule suggests that 20% of the people typically do 80% of the business, while the remaining 80% do only 20%. It's one of those intriguing facts about life that you don't need to question too much. Sometimes letting the obvious be your best teacher is sufficient. In nearly any enterprise, whether it's a business, a club, or anything else, you'll observe that roughly 20% of the people are responsible for around 80% of the output. Ask a church minister who supports the church financially, and they'll likely tell you that about 20% of the congregation contributes 80% of the financial support, while the rest contribute much less. It's a statistic that sheds light on the dynamics of human involvement. Once you understand the 20/80th rule, here's what you must learn to do as a leader. Don't attempt to change it. This isn't something you can alter. It's something you must adapt to and work with, much like the changing seasons or other natural cycles. You accept it for what it is and learn to navigate it effectively. The best starting point for any successful venture is reality. Understand how things truly are without deceiving yourself or wishing for a different scenario. Embrace the 20/80th rule as it stands and learn to leverage it to your advantage. Here are some key points to understand about the 20/80th rule. If you want to impact 80% of your business, you must focus on the 20% that drives 80% of the results. This principle applies broadly. Focus your efforts where they will yield the greatest return. Success often involves moving in the opposite direction of the prevailing negative trends. Just as a seed pushes against gravity to grow upwards, success requires overcoming the natural pull towards mediocrity or decline. In any group or organization, there will be a tendency for the majority, the 80%, to demand the most attention. However, to achieve true success, you must diplomatically allocate your time. Give 80% of your time to the productive 20% and 20% of your time to the less productive 80%. This strategic allocation ensures that you nurture and support the most effective contributors while maintaining a connection with the broader group. Some may be tempted to eliminate the less productive 80% to focus solely on the productive 20%. However, history shows that this strategy often backfires. Even within the remaining 20%, there will still be a distribution where 20% contribute significantly more than the others. This distribution is akin to natural laws. It's not something you can change, but it is something you can harness and optimize. Effective leadership also requires listening attentively to your team. Allocate 80% of your listening time to the valuable 20% who generate the most impact, and 20% to the broader 80%. Despite the demands of the majority, it's crucial to maintain a balanced approach that acknowledges and respects all contributors. Success in leadership and enterprise often involves swimming against the current of conventional wisdom. It requires understanding the natural order of things, working with it intelligently, and capitalizing on its dynamics to achieve remarkable results. In conclusion, the true value in life is not found in material wealth, but in the person you become while striving to achieve your goals. By focusing on personal growth, developing skills, and maintaining a positive attitude, you can navigate life's challenges and opportunities more effectively. Material possessions may come and go, but the character, knowledge, and abilities you develop are lasting assets that empower you to succeed repeatedly. By understanding and applying this philosophy, you can achieve a more fulfilling, resilient, and enriched life where each goal serves as a stepping stone to becoming your best self.